2024 has been such a great year. Relatively speaking, I feel blessed to have played so many games and share these moments with you during my year. And so thank you for being part of my year. Now it's time for me to show you which one of these 47 games that I played this year was actually worth my time. So here it goes, the 47 games I played. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 categories this time. I didn't rename them, I left them as they are, and I have one category on top that is Game of the Year. I know I already talked about my Game of the Year during my Game Awards video, but I feel like there's more to talk about that because I played some good games, some great games, even though they were not released this year. Here we go. Quiet Place. I think it was a good premise, a good horror game, but it wasn't revolutionary. The monsters could hear your microphone, so you had to be really quiet. It was kind of challenging to stream it and interact with people at the same time. It was a few streams, so I will give that A or B. I might change these, we'll see. We have Avatar. This game started really cool. Beautiful atmosphere, the beautiful graphics. It started really fun, but as the game moved on to a few more hours, like 5 hours in, I was really bored at that time. It's a game that I couldn't finish. I guess that says a lot about that too. Didn't have the oomph, you know, it didn't have that. Some might not agree, but this is my list, so I get to decide. Alan Wake's American Nightmare. It was exciting to play just because I love Alan Wake 2 so much. You could see that they were already working for Alan Wake 2 and you could see the story shaping in a way. It was fun. Somewhere here. And again, continuing with Alan Wake. Alan Wake 2 DLCs were absolutely amazing. Lake House was so emotional as well because I'm a big Control fan. We played it last year and I've been a huge fan ever since. Lake House DLC, to see the little bits and blobs that they were teasing about. Spoiler alert, Lake House DLC, you can see Dylan, Jesse's brother, come up and it was so emotional to see him there. I got really hyped. So this was really good, a really good DLC. And now I'm thinking maybe this one goes down there, I think. And then we have Night Springs. Night Springs was so much fun. It was a fun little DLC. I really enjoyed it, especially the time breaker one, the last chapter. A lot of references to the other games of the franchise, even though they don't really connect canonically, some of them do, not all of them. You know, it was super meta. It was so much fun. So I would, yeah, somewhere here. Great soundtrack. Yeah, both Night Springs soundtrack was really good too. Banishers. Okay, Banishers was another game that I haven't finished. It felt a bit predictable. The combat at first was really fun, but then again, it got repetitive. I remember that. It's kind of like The Witcher. It was a good game, but not very memorable. I mean, I haven't finished it. Maybe I could have given a better chance, but I just couldn't get into it, you know? First 5 hours or so, if you're feeling it, sure, but sometimes you just cannot really connect with it, so it's not really, you know? And then next we have Black Myth Wukong. It is... I mean, I don't need to think about it that much. I've been expecting this game to be my game of the year already before it came out. From everything I saw online, from all the trailers, teasers, and to experience it afterwards, go through that beautifully crafted environment, to meditate and see all these sceneries. It was just beautiful. But not only that, it had impeccable gameplay. I really enjoyed the gameplay. There were some annoying areas where I could really see the difficulty spikes. The more I suffered, after a while, I realized, hey, let's consider what this game is offering me. This game allows you to change your game style, your combat style completely whenever you want. Opens a lot of doors, actually, and some people refuse to use those things. I was one of them, but did realize that, hey, maybe I'll change some stuff from my, playstyle and try different things. The boss fights were really good, really well thought. Combat was probably my favorite at the end of each chapter. Those animations and the style kept changing as well. It was really beautiful, and they kept that the mysterious storytelling that we mostly see in From Software games. You really had to pay attention, read the journal to understand what was going on, especially for someone like me who's not very familiar with the Chinese mythology and of the Monkey King. They added so many secret areas. If you're enjoying the game, there's a lot to do in the game, and if you're rushing through it, you're not really feeling it anyway. So yeah, moving on to Crimson Snow. This is like a very short horror game with a lot of jump scares that goes in your face, and I don't really like those that much. You know, it was a fun little silly stream, I guess. To another horror game, Pro Country. This was really fun. By the way, all of these playthroughs will be linked down below in the description. And by the way, let me know which one of these playthroughs that did you like the most in the channel, if any. If any, I hope. I hope you liked one at least. Pro Country was really fun. The puzzles were perfect. Very cute art style with so many of classic horror elements. The combat was a bit not something that I'm used to normally. If you're a classic horror fan, definitely a good game to try. Now, another, my beloved Cyberpunk. She's my game of the year. You can have multiple games of the year, right? You can. I think you can. I was really afraid to start Cyberpunk because it is a huge world. During that time, I was really anxious of like starting big games. I am so happy that this year finally I gave in and tried Cyberpunk. My Corpo V and her adventures through Night City, I still think about it. I played it once. Currently, I'm doing a second playthrough on my Twitch channel if you guys want to, you know, hang out there. I love games where you make the decisions and those decisions will come back and bite you in your bum. Sometimes it's emotional, sometimes it's silly. The characters are so lovable and hateable, very much so. It's so real, you know? The story made me cry a lot. Actually, I should have added Phantom Liberty as a separate image here, but it would be right next to it because Phantom Liberty, one of the best DLCs ever, probably. Still think about that ending. And the music that played at the end, oh my god, the soundtrack, beautiful. The world building, the storytelling, I think CDPR's best game so far. Even though I'm a big fan of Witcher as well, but Cyberpunk takes the throne. We're gonna move on. Dead Island 2. Very fun game. It's just a fun zombie killing game. I would put this probably B. Okay, Detroit Become Human. This was my second playthrough, but it's been quite a few years, so I couldn't remember many of the details, and I tried my best to choose differently this time. I think I enjoyed each and every... Well, I enjoyed probably Connor's campaign more than anyone else. Very strong storytelling and one of the best make your own story, choices matter kind of a game. And moving on to another choices matter game, Devil in Me. Not good. Not good at all. I mean, there were some moments maybe I did enjoy in this playthrough, but honestly, not good. It was kind of disappointing. In these games, you know, you make a decision and it affects the whole story. It's like a butterfly effect and blah, blah, blah. But in Devil in Me, it felt like none of my decisions mattered. It was a really weird experience, to be honest with you. On the other hand, we did play House of Ashes. That game was good. That was okay. Like, okay. But I did enjoy the storylines. I did enjoy, there were some likable characters. Unlike Devil in Me, I feel like I didn't really care about the characters in Devil in Me. Now, a DLC. Unfortunately, I could not finish Shadow of the Earth Tree, even though Elden Ring was one of my favorite games from last year when I played it. It was beautiful. I really wanted to like this more. I really couldn't get into it. It was really difficult. And that's just my fault, you know? If this was last year when I was more into the Souls-like genre, I was playing, I think, more Souls-like games last year, and this year has been more of like story adventure, horror survival, most of these games. One day I will go back to Elden Ring and maybe I will do like a full-on second playthrough and we will do like a special character just for the Shadow of the Earth Tree. I will have a better experience of it, hopefully, because yeah. And next year there's the Night Rain thingy, Elden Ring, a new game coming out. That's gonna be exciting to see too, so yeah. Another Souls-like game that I played, Notria, Italian Souls-like with Italian folklore and very bright and dark. It was a contrast between the environment of like some joyful streets with very dark characters in here and there, and the NPCs looking very sketchy. The overall environment I really enjoyed, but unfortunately it suffered from optimization issues. That really messed up my experience. I don't want to put it next to Elden Ring because it was worse than Elden Ring, I would say. Off to Evil Within. S tier game. Perfect. As it is. I wouldn't change a thing about Evil Within. Well, maybe I would change a few things now that I think about it. On its own, I think it's a really, really underrated game. The storytelling, I enjoyed how versatile it was again. If you know me a little bit, I don't like it when you have nothing to do. You cannot fight back. You have to hide from the monster. And for example, A Quiet Place was most of the time it was like that. That's why it's down here. It wasn't that memorable. It was basically be quiet, plan your way out, and then be out. And then that's it. Now, if we're talking about boss fights, for example, Evil Within 2 did that really, really bad. I thought the boss fights were not memorable at all. Even though the story picked up a lot and it was really interesting, it was easier to understand. They added a few things that made the gameplay maybe better, but sometimes worse. I did not like that we didn't have the fire here. Even so, I would put it here. It would have been really cool to have Evil Within 3, but then again, at the end of Evil Within 2, you kind of get a happy ending, which is rare, I guess. Now, on the other hand, we have Far Cry 6. A lot of people would say that this is the worst Far Cry game. This was my first. Not the worst. I cannot really compare it. So, I guess the best Far Cry game that I've played. Yeah, I had so much fun playing Far Cry 6, but the ending was so disappointing. Spoiler alert if you didn't play it. I was expecting for the kid to be saved by my character, and then maybe, in a way, the kid helping us with the dictator that's this guy, I forgot his name. And I don't know, I feel like that would have been a more interesting story or more interesting ending, but I had so much fun playing it, so I will put it on a good category. Well, I guess this is like okay. And now we have my first ever Fallout game. Could put it on S tier. It's a really good game. I started playing Fallout 4 after watching the series, the adaptation series, and it was really fun. It was actually one of the first bigger games that opened many doors for me, because after Fallout 4 I was not so scared to start playing bigger games, so I guess it opened a lot of doors for me. It's funny that this was the Bethesda game that eventually led to me playing Cyberpunk. Is it a great game? Yeah, it's a great game. I actually really enjoy Fallout 4. I think it's an S tier because of the gameplay itself. Now we have Hellblade. Oh my god. Beautiful. Beautiful game, beautiful combat. Even though it gets somewhat repetitive, I didn't mind for it, honestly. I really was immersed into the story so much that I didn't care for anything else. The soundtrack, the puzzles, the storytelling, it was truly beautiful. The analogies that they used with mental health, I don't know if refreshing is the good term to use here, but it was really refreshing to see something so different, so beautifully made. You know, it's one of those games that you can see that a lot of love was put into it, a lot of care and love. Yeah, I love it when love is one of the ingredients, so really, really enjoyed Hellblade. On the other hand, Hellblade 2 was a worse version of the first one. I would say still really enjoyed the story, really enjoyed the mechanics, the puzzles, the new additions that they had. It was really interesting, but it wasn't as good as the first one. But who can blame them that they didn't do the exact same thing that people were expecting them to? They were trying different things, and some of them worked for some people and some of them didn't for some people. A game for everyone is a game for no one, so I truly believe that. I really enjoyed Senua's Saga Hellblade 2. Cried at the end. It was very emotional. It was a good game. Probably not an S tier game though. I would put it right here. This is working. Yeah. Next up, we have Indiana Jones. Really, really fun game. Surprisingly good gameplay. You know what? I would put Far Cry a bit up here and even Indiana Jones to here as well. Started really fun. The only complaint that I might have is the optimization issues. I don't have the strongest machine at the moment, so it's a really fun game. It looks great as well. It was a combination of Assassin's Creed games with a lot of action adventure as well. Moving on to Little Misfortune, an S-tier game. It is so beautiful, so emotional. It made me feel things. Some of these games I played at the beginning of the year, so I'm like trying to remember things about them. It's but Little Misfortune, it was really fun. What a touching story as well. And now we have Mass Effect. Another S-tier game. We just actually recently finished Mass Effect 2. Maybe I should have made Mass Effect 1 and 2 separately. I think overall it's an S-tier game anyway. I think Mass Effect is a must-play for people who enjoy sci-fi, storytelling, alien boinking games. I loved getting lost in the lore and the story. In Mass Effect 2, I've been surprised with many reveals, many new additions, new companions. It only makes me more excited about the third one, which we will start pretty soon, hopefully. And now we have Metal Hellsinger. This is a really fun game. I didn't get to finish it because it's kind of a game that, you know, you play a little bit and then you come back later on. It's a rhythm game with great shooting, great music, and a good story too. Demon girl who lost her voice, searching through the darkest depths of hell to find, yeah, something like that. It's a fun game. We have Mouthwashing, an S-tier game. It's, after I finished Mouthwashing, I couldn't stop thinking about it for a few days. Storytelling, the way, such an interesting and kind of up as well. Very much of a horror game with a lot of analogies again, and the story was really real. It stays with you. A lot of sadness, but I think it was an S-tier game. Now we have Nobody Wants to Die. This was a good game. It was about a guy who's a detective. There's been a murder and you need to solve it, but then a lot of things happen. But this happens in a very cyberpunky noir alternate future where nobody wants to die. You can live forever. You change skins, you change your body, you get a new skin. It's kind of like an Altered Carbon TV series that came out a few years back. It's a detective gameplay. You solve puzzles basically in a very original kind of puzzle solving as well. I mean, it was a smaller game. It's an indie, I believe. The soundtrack was beautiful. The sceneries were beautiful. I believe I took a lot of screenshots. So I would put it probably somewhere around American Nightmare. I'm sorry, I'm gonna put you down there a little bit. Now next we have another amazing S-tier game, which is also very underrated, I believe. Quantum Break is kind of like Control, kind of like Alan Wake. It's a lot like nothing else though. In between chapters of the gameplay, you get some episodes of TV series, and if you don't watch those, I don't think you understand that much of what's going on, and that makes it very unique. To me, it is kind of like an early version of Control. Quantum Break would probably go here. So, Resident Evil franchise. I'm a big fan of Resident Evil games in general, and this was the year that I finally got to play the original trilogy, plus Code Veronica. We'll talk about Code Veronica in a second, but before I get to that, let's start from Resident Evil 1. A great game. This game came out in 1996. For what it was that year, I think it's a good game, great game even. But the remake is so much better. But I did enjoy it a lot. We have Resident Evil 2. It's an S-tier game. Such a big step up from the first. It might be even better than the remake in a way because of how the double stories were handled in the original. Ada's story it made more sense to me for some reason. But then again, you know, I mean, I really loved the remake as well. Now, on the other hand, Resident Evil 3 Nemesis is definitely much better than the remake. The original takes the cake. It is action, it is horror, it is A true Resident Evil game. I'm glad I stopped being afraid of the tank controls and afraid of the old games and actually gave them a chance because they definitely deserve it. We have Code Veronica next. I'm sorry, but no, Code Veronica kind of sucks. I do wish that we got a remake for Code Veronica because most deserving from the Resident Evil titles, it desperately needs a lot of change. It needs a remaster, it needs a remake, anything. I was really excited to play this game. Some of the things in the game did not make sense. Once I was done with the first part, half of the game, I was kind of done with it, to be honest, so I did not get to finish the last half. Maybe I'll go back to it at some point, but I really did not enjoy it. I hope one day we get a Code Veronica remake and then I will play it because I love Claire and I would love to see her story being remade and retold in the modern age. It would be really, really cool. Talking about good classic horror games, we're gonna move on to Silent Hill. So the first Silent Hill game, it's an S tier game. In my eyes, perfect. It might be my favorite Silent Hill game. The puzzles, the story, the mystique, the impact of this game. Incredible. Incredible horror survival. Still to this day, a lot of people would say, yeah, it doesn't need a remake and blah, blah, blah. Yeah, as it is perfect. I agree. But I would love to play it as a remake. You know, remake doesn't just delete the existence of the original game. Beautifully made Silent Hill game. On the other hand, we have Silent Hill 2. Yeah, Silent Hill 2 is better than the first one in many ways. They have phenomenal soundtrack. It's hard for me to choose between these two because I love them both. Silent Hill 1 was the first Silent Hill game that got me into these games, and I'm very grateful for it. I've only just recently actually started playing video games in general in the last few years, so these are all new to me. Now, Silent Hill 2 Remake, I think it was better than the original. I think Bloober Team did a fantastic job. It must have been really difficult, especially for a game that is beloved by so many people, by so many generations. I think they did a really good job. I love the atmosphere. I love the soundtrack. The gameplay was a huge improvement. The voice acting was beautiful. Changes that they made into the levels, they added a lot of richness to the game. The pizza, no pizza scene. I did not vibe with the ice cream, unfortunately. It did make Eddie look really crazy, but I don't know. But overall, Silent Hill 2 Remake actually it was another game of the year. I forgot about this, that Silent Hill 2 Remake was another game of the year for me. Everything about it I really enjoyed. I played it over and over again, did like multiple endings. Moving on to another very good Silent Hill game, Silent Hill 3. Now, unfortunately, this is not as good in my eyes. Very interesting to see continuation of the first game. The monsters in Silent Hill 3, though, they were so freaking annoying. On the other hand, we have Silent Hill 4, The Room, which is a very, 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 very underrated game. It is an underrated game. The last Silent Hill game made by the original Silent Hill team, they were trying a lot of different things in this one, and some of them worked. Some of them I did appreciate, you know, starting first person and then continuing in third person. The combat was okay, I guess. Hated some of the parts. Do not ever want to go back just because of that apartment section. The map is useless. The ghosts are chasing you all the time. You think you're safe in your safe house? No, you're not safe. You're never safe. There is nowhere safe, literally. The story, on the other hand, this is where the underrated part comes in, because the story is really, really interesting. Could benefit from a remake a lot. I don't know how that would work. I would love to see that. Not my favorite Silent Hill, but not the worst Silent Hill either, because there's also a short message. I have not much to talk about this. It's a good indie horror game, but it's not a Silent Hill game. It's not. The monster was really beautiful. Really great design, and it has a great message. A short message, but it's an important one nonetheless. The last boss fight gave me so much rage that I just watched the ending and be done with it. It wasn't better than Code Veronica, I would say. I would put Code Veronica here. It's a free game with PlayStation 5, and for that, I guess it's okay. Another horror game that I really did not vibe with is Visage, because I played this last year as well. I tried to continue and do a different story. I couldn't finish it. No, it's just, no. It can't be just me trying to escape from a big entity that's chasing me and it knows where I am at all times. It gets really tiring very quickly. It needs to have puzzles, a story. It needs to have other things a little bit more. Oh, one other Silent Hill game that I almost forgot. Silent Hills, also known as PT, the Silent Hill game that never was, actually. It has such a big impact to think that what it could have been if Kojima was allowed to continue. PT was crazy. It was super scary. I don't know, now that I think about it, because, you know, in Silent Hills, you do kind of run, but there's not much that you can do against the monsters there, but you're not really being chased as much as Visage, for example. It was very dependent on the atmosphere and what's lurking in the shadows, the power of the unknown. You don't really know what's going on, and you're in the dark and there's not much you can do, but there are stuff that you can interact with and see how it goes and blah blah blah, and it's the mystique that makes it really interesting, not being chased by the monster. In Visage, you are being hunted. You could die over and over and over again. Yeah, and then it gets really boring after that. So that's the difference to me. That is a very original horror game, Signalis. I liked it. Couldn't finish it, unfortunately. I got distracted by other games. I should probably go back to it, actually. I should probably finish this one. Another one. I'm gonna put it on S tier because it is an S tier game. Really, really fun combat. The main character is extremely sexualized. That is true, but I just enjoyed playing as a strong female character with a lot of great powers and good story to tell. Yeah, there's not much to say, to be honest. We either like it or you don't. The combat was the best part of it. Soundtrack was the other. I don't know, it could have been a game of the year. I was kind of expecting it to be at least nominated, but yeah. What was your game of the year this year? I would like to know. Okay, we have Star Wars Outlaws. Fun at first, and the world building felt really promising, but then it got super annoying. I didn't like that there was like one way to do things. The saving really got annoying, and I remember being stuck somewhere. You have to do things in a stealth way, right? And once you get caught, you have to restart the whole thing. That's the reason why I couldn't finish this game. Then we have Exit. This was a fun game. Find the differences, anomalies, find your exit. It was fun, but not much to say. Tomb Raider. This was really fun, but I loved the way they remastered the trilogy of Tomb Raider, and I know that this franchise is loved by many generations. It was really fun to experience it for the first time through this remaster. It was really, really fun. I was kind of addicted to it as well. I played it on my own a little bit. I got pretty close to finishing it, actually, but then it got really difficult. The Walking Dead. Really good game. I believe one of the first choices matter kind of games. It was very sad. It was a sad story. I like it when video games make me cry. Another great game, probably somewhere around here. I really, really enjoyed it. Maybe even an S tier. Actually an S tier, yeah. It's very quirky, it's very original. It's basically a walking simulator with a great story. The story was stitched into your environment, and I loved how with every interaction you got to see more of it. So yeah, definitely an S tier game. 3 games for Game of the Year category, because those are my games of the year. Even though Cyberpunk did not come out this year, it was my first experience and I loved it. Black Myth Wukong should have won the Game of the Year if you ask me. Silent Hill 2 Remake, my beloved. This is my list and it's not final. I might change my mind, give some of these games another chance. Finally finish Elden Ring. I might finally finish Visage. No, probably not. Not Visage. Probably not Visage. And yeah, this has been my 2024. What about you? What games did you play in my list that you agree or disagree? Let me know. Once again, thank you so much for being part of my 2024. I really enjoyed showcasing and playing all of these games with you, and I hope to do even more so in the upcoming year. So hope to see you then. Okay? See you next year. Bye!